ain't see me, you Stevie. Wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to be talking about the X-Men, The Trial of Magneto, #2 by Leah Williams and Lucas Wernick. And the main thing we're really going to focus on in this video is whether or not what Charles Xavier and Hope are doing to Magneto is actually considered torture. We're also going to try and figure out why exactly Magneto just lost his shit and attacked the Avengers, and more importantly, with knowledge now that the Scarlet Witch is not truly dead, are we actually seeing the Scarlet Witch, or are we seeing a manipulation? We're going to talk about all this and more right now, but first, if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy the video, I humbly ask that you like the video and share it around with your friends because it really helps the channel out. That said, let's talk about the X-Men, The Trial of Magneto, #2. Okay, so let's go ahead and address the first thing. First things first, Magneto is, for all intents and purposes, yeah, he's kind of being tortured. It's one of those things where it probably doesn't seem that way to the naked eye, but he is locked away in his own mind and living in what can only be described as an MC Escher / Jim Henson's The Labyrinth inspired realm where there's stairs going all upwards and downwards and sideways in ways that make no absolute sense whatsoever. And he's basically being left in this comfortable, yes, quotey fingers, comfortable state that Charles and Hope are creating for him so they can try and get to the bottom of whether or not he actually did or did not kill the Scarlet Witch. This is something that is brought up because Hope feels incredibly uncomfortable with this, and for good reason, because she feels that this is torture. She feels that they are basically torturing Magneto to get the truth out of him. Basically referring to what they're doing as tactical manipulation, trying to make him feel at ease, trying to make him feel comfortable, which is exactly Charles Xavier's words, but at the end of it all, what Charles is trying to do is more or less force a confession. And while Charles can try and use all the flowery dialogue in the world to make it seem as though that's not what he's doing, that is, for all intents and purposes, what he's doing, whether he agrees with his own methods or not, or even if he thinks that his own methods are not as pure as he would like for them to be, the point of the matter is what he's doing is kind of wrong. What's also funny about this is this isn't the first time we've actually seen the X-Men, more specifically, Charles Xavier, use methods like this. We've seen this throughout the history of the X-Men. This is actually kind of old hat when you come down to it, but it's really one of the first times in a long time that it's actually ever been addressed in any meaningful manner. Usually it's just done and people are like, yeah, it's a thing, we did it, moving on. But in this particular instance, it's actually being paid a little bit more weight to, make people understand that this is actually not okay. Now, the reason why this is probably happening is because while all this is going on, X Factor investigations, they are chrono-skimming the House of M. And as we know, when House of X began, there were multiple copies of Cerebro hidden amongst the island. That way, there was always a cradle somewhere and a Cerebro being held in it to make sure that if one Cerebro was damaged, there would be others that could take its place. We saw this in regards to X-Force #1 when Dawn of X began and Charles Xavier was assassinated by Reavers who had stormed the island. When he was shot in the head, the shot also damaged Cerebro, yet they were still able to have other Cerebros on tap. And one of the other Cerebros is in the House of M under Magneto's guard. Now, as they're chrono-skimming the area, which is all courtesy of Prestige, they do learn that Magneto did, in fact, pick up the Cerebro that was under his care. Or at the very least, someone who looks like him. Once again, there's no telling exactly what was going on here. However, we do know that if there was any one reason for him to actually take the Cerebro himself, it would be, as Dakin actually points out, to force a resurrection for Wanda Maximoff, because that is one of the things that would be needed, and he could, for all intents and purposes, strong-arm the Five into doing it for him, even without the Quiet Council's approval, which, it would have been tough, but it's something he could have easily done. That said, the reason why Magneto is losing his shit in this particular issue is largely, maybe possibly, due to Hope Summers' meddling. Earlier on in the story, the Avengers pull up to Krakoa not for a fight, but as official guests. As it's actually even brought up, they are the first official guest of Krakoa, and you're probably sitting here wondering, wait a minute. We've seen other people come to the island, people who weren't even mutants. How are these guys the first official guests? Well, they're official in the sense that they were formally invited. Other people who've come to the island have largely been there strictly just as guests in a, oh, hey, we're just happening to go here and oops, well, here you go. You're now here and here. Check out the sites. All right, now get the heck out of Dodge. It's usually been one of those types of scenarios. In this case, the X-Men, or more officially, the Quiet Council, has invited the Avengers to the island so that they might collect Wanda Maximoff's body. And everything, for the most part, is, pretty cordial. Even by superhero misunderstanding standards, no one is throwing the first punch here. No one is accusing anyone of anything. In fact, one of the first things we see is Vision embracing Jean Grey, as Jean Grey says that they are sorry for his loss. And everyone seems to be on about roughly the same page. And they're being shown around the sites of the island, something that I thought was very interesting, considering the fact that they felt that Hope was necessary to have around the hatchery, which is where they're going at this precise moment to collect the body. They felt that Hope was necessary to have on deck to telepathically mask the presence of the secrets of mutant resurrection. The Avengers don't know how they do it. They are aware that they can, they just don't know the methods behind it. It's considered a state secret. And while Hope is not actually present at the time, and this is something I found very interesting because Hope's abilities don't necessarily make her telepathic. It's not a power that's actually in her repertoire. It's something that she can technically use, but she usually has to be near a telepath or have recently synced with a telepath in order to do it. Now, technically speaking, she's standing next to Charles Xavier, so she actually could, but she's not present at the time. She's elsewhere, therefore she cannot do it. But I did think it was very interesting dialogue that Polaris brings up, saying that, oh, she could telepathically mask the place. And it's like, well, no, technically that's not really 100% of her skill set. It is a power that she has access to, but not something she has access to 24/7. All of that aside, it doesn't matter because Emma Frost is the one who's actually masking everything while they're in the hatchery, making them think that they're, on a beachside resort sunbathing, whereas in reality, they actually are in the hatchery where mutants are resurrected. All of that aside, Magneto learns, speaking of Hope, learns about the fact that the Avengers are there from Hope Summers in an instance that did strike me as odd, because once Charles Xavier is no longer around, Hope is the one who wakes Magneto up and informs him the Avengers are there, and she is informing Magneto that the Avengers cannot get to Wanda Maximoff's body. Now the question is why? Why do they not want the Avengers to get there in time to see the body? What exactly is going on? And more importantly, we get the impression that Hope, likely still synced with Charles Xavier's abilities, is using them to manipulate Eric in some way to act against the Avengers. Magneto is acting incredibly out of character in this instance, almost immediately attacking Quicksilver for absolutely no reason whatsoever, and also taking out not just himself, but also tackling Northstar as well to get the speedsters off the playing field, which is really about the only power on Krakoa, at least in this immediate room, that could actually stop him from doing what he's trying to do. Magneto is trying to go after the Avengers and run them away, whereas the Avengers are trying to stay out of it. At least Captain America is. He's trying to give the X-Men enough time to handle this problem on their own. Even X-Factor is getting involved in this because at the end of it all, there's a battle going down very close to where the Scarlet Witch's body is being held. And if this battle were to spill closer, even closer to where Scarlet Witch's remains are being held, it could very easily contaminate all of the evidence that they've collected and completely ruin the investigation. Something that I think Hope may or may not realize. I don't know. It's really weird that this is going on, but Magneto is even going after Kyle, Northstar's husband, which I thought was also another really interesting turn there, holding him hostage and threatening to kill him if the Avengers don't leave. And then we get a confession. Magneto confessing, which it seems like a very forced confession, confessing that he was the one who killed Wanda Maximoff, that he will confess what he has done if it will get them to leave, even offering his own hands up, basically asking them to take him away. But while all this is going on, we get a very interesting surprise. Wanda Maximoff just mysteriously appears out of nowhere, right as Magneto is sitting here claiming that he is the one who truly murdered the Scarlet Witch. Wanda Maximoff comes along and says, I'm afraid I have to disagree on several points, actually. This particular moment, we are witnessing the return of the Scarlet Witch. Now, a lot of things could be factoring into this. For one, we already know from the previous issue, Wanda has already informed us she's not dead. She is, in fact, not alive either. She's in some weird half state, somewhere stuck between life and death. And while, yes, she was theoretically murdered, she is right here before us right now. Now, the other thing that we have to address is the fact that earlier in this issue, we do learn from Wanda Maximoff, likely notes that were conjured up by herself, notes about the fact that magic knows no master, that it belongs to neither gods nor man, and that it is mercurial in nature, and magic kind of does whatever magic wants. No one really ever actually has real, actual control over magic. Not even the likes of Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, can even actually control magic. Even a character of the magnitude of power as Dormammu has no real control over magic. Magic just simply does what it wants to do when it wants to act. And it just so happens that the people who are wielding that magic just kind of happen to be bystanders as magic is doing what it wanted to do anyway. Basically stating that one can direct magic. They can point magic in the direction it goes. Kind of like how we always talk about the Hulk. We say, oh, no one really controls the Hulk. You just kind of direct the Hulk at something and then let, whatever happens. That's kind of what magic is in this very same instance. And once again, even after that, witnessing the Scarlet Witch as she's also talking about being burst into different fragments of life, how she's being murdered over and over again, whatever it is, whoever it is that has killed her is doing it over and over and over again, that she dies and then everything becomes darkness and then there's rebirth, darkness, and then she wakes up. Now there's one of three things that's happening right here, right now in this very moment. Either the Five have resurrected her and we just haven't seen it occur yet, or there's some other mystical magical means as to why she's actually still alive, or this is yet another psychic projection by Emma Frost. We do know that Jean could potentially do the exact same thing, being an Omega level telepath, but this is something we've actually seen Emma Frost do very recently when it was explained how the character of Lord Chantel's death was faked right before the entire Hellfire Club's eyes, that they saw and they felt what Emma wanted them to feel. Maybe this is yet another psychic projection, but this is something that the reason why I don't feel that this is exactly the case, because there's a couple of reasons that would kind of blow this whole thing out of the water. Now, for one, Mystique is completely out of sight, but witnessing what everyone else is seeing as well, seeing the Scarlet Witch floating down from the heavens, floating down from the boneyard before everyone's eyes, basically saying that, yeah, I'm sorry that you guys all came here for this. I'm sorry that the situation is messed up, but she just wants to put the whole thing behind her. And as she embraces Vision, kissing him as she floats down from the boneyard, saying that she wants things to get back to normal. There are a lot of questions that need to be asked and answered here, and I don't know where this is going now. This isn't going quite the way I had initially expected. I originally thought that, once again, this was going to be just a cut and dry trial. This was going to like, oh yeah, the Scarlet Witch is dead. We got all the evidence. All right, it's Magneto. Let's try and figure out the reasons behind why he did it. And then the closer we got to the release of this comic, I realized, oh, this is more of a murder mystery. And now it seems less of a murder mystery, less of a whodunit, and more of a what the f just happened. But anyways, you guys let me know your theories about what's going on here in this trial of Magneto. If you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button and remember to share this video all over the internet and with all your friends so they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to the X-Men and the trial of Magneto. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about X-Men, the trial of Magneto #2. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.